Welcome to Life and Living. I'm Joanna Gagis. In this first segment, we're talking all about STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, and what our kids today need to know and aren't learning enough of in school. And I'm joined right now by David Anderson, who's the president and CEO of Boys and Girls Clubs of Mercer County. Welcome, David.
I'm glad to be here.
So I know that the Boys and Girls Clubs do a lot more than just deal with STEM, but right now that's a huge topic. Talk about what you're doing and why for these students in terms of the STEM involvement.
Sure. STEM is right now there's over 1 million jobs in this country that are unfilled because corporations and companies can't find skilled workers, and it's a lot around the STEM field. And so a lot of it we try to do is have kids try different hands-on activities to start gaining an understanding of what they may or may not be interested in doing in their career choices. And STEM is one of those activities that has a lot of hands-on projects, be it building robots out of Legos, be it doing math games, working with computers. It gives a lot of those hands-on projects for kids.
When people think of STEM, I doubt that the first thing that comes to mind is a hands-on project. But there are fields, and as you take it from childhood into adulthood, it can be fun, right? It can be hands-on. And so talk about some of the specifics of the programs. You mentioned Lego. Talk about First Lego.
So First Lego is one of our partners, and we have a lot of different partners that we bring in to do our STEM programming. So what they do is they start with the kids with basic Legos and with parts that can be programmed to do certain functions. Just like if you see on assembly line on a car, they would start with simple things where they would build something that the Lego arm would move and rotate.
So it's like a robotic made out of Legos.
And then what they would do is the kids are interested in building it, but as they build it, then the teacher explains some of the scientific principles behind it. It's actually the opposite that most schools do, where you would have your chemistry lecture and then do the chemistry lab, which is the fun part. What we do is the lab part first, and then the instructor would explain some of the principles behind it for the learning.
So they don't even know they're learning.
Exactly.
They don't even know they're being taught.
We call it sneaky learning.
I love that. You call it sneaky learning. So it's an actual approach in terms of taking kind of the daunting, very heavy focus away from the lesson and making it fun. How does that impact child's learning?
It's really, for a lot of the kids that we see that struggle in school, it's a way for them to find how to be successful, and then understanding that they can apply those principles that they've learned to do better in school. And it actually boosts their self-esteem. It gives them confidence that they can know that they can learn new things and do new things. And it really changes kids around.
You work a lot with computers, and it runs the gamut from the youngest to the oldest of your students. I know it starts with intro to computers, but talk about how that program grows with the child.
Sure. We have kids all the way from kindergarten all the way through high school, and what we try to do is create a continuum, almost like a pathway, that kids can start with basic things such as keyboarding and internet safety, and then build into things such as digital photography, movie making, web design when they get into middle school kids. And then as they get into high school, learn more sophisticated things such as essential of computers and how to take them apart and rebuilding them and upload operating systems.
Well, it's interesting. You talk about the rebuilding and taking part of computers. There's a program called Career Launch, and the kids are actually giving back to the community through that program, through computers. Explain that.
So Career Launch is the overall arching piece of kids exploring careers. And when you get to the higher level, kids want experience doing things. And so we created a social entrepreneurial business where people donate used computers. Our kids are trained with the Cisco IT Essential class, where they take them apart, put them back together so they're working computers, and then we resell them back into the community at low cost. And this $50 or $75 that we get now for a working computer funds the training programs and the jobs for those high school students doing it.
You're in Mercer County. What communities are you impacting in terms of student involvement and then in terms of the outreach with these programs that you're talking about?
We have 10 locations within the city of Trenton, but we also have some locations in Ewing and Lawrence. We're opening up a new 35,000 square foot community center on Spruce Street that divides Ewing from Lawrence, and we'll be opening that up to any Mercer County youth.
Now, in particular, girls and young women are not entering the STEM fields as much as men. So I know there's something called Camp Go, and it specifically targets young girls. What are you doing there?
So Camp Go is for middle school girls, and it has not only the STEM activities that introduce girls to that, but it also does guest speakers where women professionals come in and talk each week to the girls about what their role and their pathway was to get where they were, so they learn from other professional women. They also go on college and business tours, so it gets them out into the community to see those work environments. And then they do a lot of leadership activities where they can go out into the community and volunteer, and they do a lot of project work. So if they're doing that Lego robotics, they would work as a team and learn how to work together as a team and provide leadership opportunities for
How do you see this impact those young girls?
A lot with, oh, I didn't know I could do that. A lot of, hey, that's pretty cool. And a lot of, hey, what's next? What can I do? And that's really the important thing for middle school and high school kids is kids are forced when they get in their upper high school years of making career decisions, and they really don't have any information on how to do that. And so programs like our Camp Go and our Career Launch program enable kids to start putting some pieces of the puzzle together.
And I know we don't have a lot of time, but there's a program that's just been introduced to the Boys and Girls Clubs, and it's BEAM. Can you explain what BEAM is?
BEAM is an asthma awareness program funded through the Horizon Foundation. And it basically looks at some of the statistics where a lot of emergency visits in lower income communities come from asthma attacks. And so what we've done through the help of the foundation is had 300 kids go through an asthma awareness program where they're beginning to understand what are some of the signs of asthma, what brings on asthma, and also do screening so that any kids that do have the signs of asthma can be referred to a physician for treatment prior to going into a hospital visit, and it's been a really great program.
Why is it effective to have these kids start to understand the impacts of their own health and their own surroundings on their health?
Well, obviously one of the problems with our healthcare system is most of it is on curing or treatment after you've had something versus preventive.
This is prevention.
And so this is prevention. And the awareness and the educational level of kids going into adults really helps the whole preventive piece. And there's a lot of things with most diseases that people can do to prevent them.
And in asthma, in the case of asthma in particular, there are a lot of things we can do to better our health and decrease our risk of asthma.
It's the #1 reason why kids miss school, and then that just causes other problems.
David Anderson, President and CEO, Boys and Girls Clubs of Mercer County. I know I could have talked to you for a full program because there's so much that you're doing and you're really touching kids' lives, especially in the Mercer County area where you are. I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. More Life and Living coming up right after this.
Life and Living has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of Life and Living with Joanna Gagis has been provided by New Jersey Sharing Network, the Mental Health Association in New Jersey, Verizon Communications, Johnson & Johnson, Cone Resnick, United Airlines, and by the Russell Berry Foundation. Life and Living with Joanna Gagis has been produced in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System.